There's literally infinite different chords and chord shapes you could learn on the guitar, but in this video, I'm breaking down every chord you actually need to know into 5 simple levels, starting with level 1. The first chords every guitar teacher will tell you to learn are the 8 open chords, with those being E major, E minor, A major, A minor, D major, D minor, C major, and finally G major. Now the reason these are called open chords is because they include one or more open strings, which is shown by the O's at the top of the chord chart, with the X's telling you what strings not to strum. These 8 open chords are perfect for grabbing your acoustic, sitting by a campfire, and playing almost any basic pop and country song you've ever heard. They also happen to include 2 of the most essential chord types, which are major and minor. Major chords generally sound bright and uplifting, while minor chords tend to have a bit sadder and moodier feel to them. And when it comes to the symbols you use for each chord, for major chords you'll see a capital M or just the chord letter alone, and for minor chords you'll see a lowercase m. Now the only downside to open chords is that you're stuck playing them in that one spot, because even if you tried to move those shapes up the fretboard, the open strings just can't move with the rest of your fingers, completely breaking the structure of whatever open chord you were playing. And that's where bar chords come in. Bar chords fix this problem by using your pointer finger to lay across multiple or all of the strings to make sure the open strings don't ring out when you strum. And this is shown by that thick line on the chord charts. Now the bar lets you take some of those open chord shapes, in particular A major, A minor, E major, and E minor, and place them right in front of that bar with your remaining fingers. This allows you to move these previously immovable shapes anywhere on the fretboard without being anchored down to that one spot because of the open strings. And here are those 4 open chord shapes I just mentioned and how to turn them into bar chords. Now you probably noticed in the examples that the chord letter changed when I switched to a bar chord shape. That's because the chord letter is determined by the lowest note in the chord, more commonly known as the root note, which is found either on the low E string or A string depending on what shape you're playing. And this is the same way we find the chord letters for open chords as well, even though the root note is not always on the low E or A string for these. So the fret you're on determines the root note, which changes the chord letter, while the chord type, major or minor in this case, depends on what shape you're using. And since there are 12 unique notes in the guitar and we have 4 shapes for both major and minor chords, that gives us a total of 48 different chords if you played every shape up to the 12th fret. And these 4 shapes are also the foundation for creating almost every other chord and chord shape you'll learn in this video, so make sure you've got these down before moving to level 2. But to be honest, if this is your first time trying bar chords, this is where a lot of guitarists hit a wall in their progress. Bar chords can be tough to get right at first, and even once you get them down, along with the other shapes in this video, what's next? Like, how do you actually use them to make music or even just get better at the guitar? And that's exactly why I created my program, Guitar Accelerator. It breaks down everything you need to know on the guitar into a complete 7-level roadmap that any player can jump into. I've spent over a year building this program, and it's already helped many players clean up their technique, write their own songs and arrangements, learn their favorite songs by ear, and so much more. So if you're tired of playing the same riffs over and over, watching every YouTube tutorial under the sun, and want to get better at guitar while actually having fun, click the first link in the description to check out Guitar Accelerator today. But now let's get back to level 2. Sus chords, short for suspended chords, create a sense of tension and anticipation that kind of pulls your ear toward a major or minor chord when played right before it in a progression. They're used a lot in genres like worship, rock, pop, and many more, but they're definitely not as common as regular major and minor chords. Now there's 2 main types of sus chords that you should know, sus2 and sus4 chords. To make these chords and most of the shapes coming up, all you have to do is slightly modify the 4 bar chords you just learned in level 1. And here's what that looks like. Seventh chords are basically just cooler versions of regular major and minor chords, but there's one more chord type we're going to turn into a seventh chord that we haven't covered yet, and those are called dominant chords. So that gives us three main types of seventh chords: major sevenths, minor sevenths, and dominant sevenths. And to make these shapes, just like I mentioned with sus chords, we're just going to slightly tweak the bar chords from level 1. Now throughout the rest of the video, there will be a few movable shapes I show that don't follow this rule, but they sound so good I just feel bad leaving them out of the video. But with that out of the way, let's start with the major and minor seventh shapes. These chords are commonly used in genres like blues, R&B, jazz, and pop. And when listening to them, you can definitely tell they're a lot warmer and jazzier sounding than the previous chords. And then comes the dominant sevenths. Dominant sevenths and all the other dominant chords coming up are kind of similar to sus chords in the same way they add tension inside of a chord progression. Except just like with major and minor sevenths, they have a bit of a jazzy and bluesy feel to them. The chord symbols for all dominant chords are just the number of the extension, in this case 7, and these chords are made primarily from tweaking the major chord shapes. These are the jazz chords and some of my personal favorites. These are the ones you'll hear in neo-soul, R&B, and well, jazz, with three main types of chord extensions: 9th, 11th, and 13th chords. Each of these extensions has their own major, minor, and dominant chords, with every one of them having their own unique and jazzy sound. And instead of tweaking the regular major and minor shapes to create these extensions, we're going to use the sevenths. Let's start out with the major and minor 9th chords and how they relate to 7th chords, but we're just going to rapid fire through most of the 11th and 13th shapes. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because 1, there's a lot of shapes, and 2, I feel like you probably get the idea of how these chords build off each other at this point. For dominant 9th chords, there's actually 3 different types that are commonly used: dominant 9th, dominant 7th sharp 9, also known as the Hendrix chord, and dominant 7th flat 9. For 11th chords, we're only going to go over the minor and dominant versions because major 11ths just aren't that practical on the guitar, and in my opinion, don't sound that good. two different types of dominant 13th chords, dominant 13th and dominant 7th flat 13 chords. Diminished chords are some of the best tension chords if used correctly. On their own, they sound pretty bad, but when played in the right context before a major and minor chord of any kind, they sound super unstable in a good way, which makes them perfect for leading into more stable chords. There are two main types of diminished chords, diminished 7th and half diminished chords, typically labeled as minor 7, flat 5 chords. These chords can also be represented by degree symbols, with the diminished 7th being just the plain degree symbol and the half diminished being one with a line through it. Congrats on making it to the end of the video. That's pretty much all of the chords you should learn, starting with the 8 open chords and bar chords, then sus chords, 7th chords, and finally the jazz extensions and diminished chords. And as a thank you for sticking around to the end, I put together a free chord blueprint with even more of my favorite chords that I use all the time in my playing, and you can grab that in the description below. I hope you learned at least a few new chords today, but like I said in the beginning, there are literally endless chords, extensions, and inversions you can create. This video just shows the most commonly used shapes for each type of chord. But let me know in the comments if there's any I missed that you would have included in the video. I'd love to hear what you guys think. This is my first longer form video, so if you enjoyed and want to see more videos like this, liking and subscribing would be much appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.